All right, so this is gonna be welcome to the first 50 Fib Podcast. I'm your host, proprietor, Jeremy Laurentiis. So I set this podcast, this format up. Good grief, probably about a year or so ago. So this inaugural episode, if you will, kind of going to be a little short to the point. I don't really have it planned out, but in my mind I've been kind of wanting to get something off of my chest for probably the better part of the last 2 days, and it's going to be specific to anybody that's trading forex, you're trading currency, you're trading futures, doesn't matter what the asset class is. I kind of feel like there's a lot on YouTube, there are a lot of influencers. I personally don't necessarily want to fall into that category. A lot of what I do, honestly, is like my own form of journaling. It's the ability to go back and look at what I may have recorded, positions that I took, what I was, looking at the time versus going back and being able to just see something from like a third person perspective, even though I'm looking at myself. So I think sometimes that's important. The older you get and the more experienced in just doing like the self-assessments, you'll realize that like even when you're in the moment and you think that you've executed to the T, you followed your plan, sometimes it's okay for you to go back and look at yourself as if you're looking at somebody totally different, because in actuality it is somebody different, and that's the paradigm that I kind of wanted to talk to and talk about here. I likened it to, and this isn't my metaphor. I think this is how I'm best able to associate with how it happened, the dynamic in the mental process. But for various reasons, I'm not going to say who, and I'm not going to give the acronym, because there's a lot of attention, mostly positive, that surrounds this particular individual. So if somebody comes across this that's within that community, within our community, because I'm a part of it, but I'll just say it this way. There reaches a point, I think, in most people's trading journey, if you go through the struggle long enough, you reach a point, and the point isn't the quit, the break, I don't want to do this is not working, I'm not successful, it's killing me, I'm horrible, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, that's all. Like, when you hear, that's the one thing I would say, like, no matter who the influencer is, when they say those things, that's true. That's 100%. Like, I think, when they talk about the percentage of successful speculators in this space being so small, you can look at that small percentage as the people that endured regardless. To give you a ballpark perspective, and I think that might be the irony, because today is January the 26th. So, man, it's kind of surreal. So I would say that this is technically year 5 for me. I started dabbling late 2019, trying to see if I could figure out shortly before Thanksgiving 2019, but I kind of got into middle of January of 2000 and said there's a significant possibility and a prospect of doing something productive. Not, I can get in here and make a whole lot of money and I'll never have to, yeah, damn you people. It was never that. It was, I could be productive and at some point be able to extract a certain portion of my productivity. in a financial means, obviously. But just to take this back, there's some people that reach that point, and their point of no return is you're not seeing any success, you're not seeing wins, you're not being consistent because you've not put yourself, and you don't know it, you haven't put yourself in a situation where you're starting to self-assess and understand where you're sabotaging yourself. And I can tell you, for about a good 4 out of the last 5 years, couldn't get out of my own way. I could say 3.5, but I'm gonna say 4. Okay, couldn't get out of my own way. So this isn't necessarily me talking about myself like I'm a greater than or I'm better than. This is me trying to express to anyone out there, any aspiring speculator, notice the word I'm using, or aspiring prospector that feels like you don't know what else to do. Like you feel like you've followed the system, you've followed the community, you've done certain things, you've done it to the T, like you feel like you're doing everything correctly. So if you feel like that, then stop for a minute and go back and just look at what is the plan. Is it, if it's rule based, if it's mechanical, if whatever it is, you have to start picking it apart. Am I doing the same things every day at the same time? Those are two different dynamics, but I just rolled on one and the same. Am I doing the same thing every day? That's one. The second part, am I doing it at the same time every day? Am I looking for the same type of price action, price movement, swing, shift, high, low, like whatever your plan, whatever your criteria is that concise? And the answers are not, well, it's kind of sort, it's either a yes or a no. That's where a lot of things can sometimes, not always, but sometimes they can sort themselves out. When you start asking those questions, not of anybody else, but of yourself, what's your mental state? Are you worried about something? You thinking about something? You upset? You're stressed out? You're pissed off? Whatever it is, I've kind of morphed into trying not to feel, which is a weird thing, but it helps in the respect that when it comes to the markets and whatever the asset is, I'm not emotionally invested in the outcome, because I've gotten to the point now where if I've followed that set of rules, if that criteria is being met, if I'm doing the same thing, if I'm doing the same thing at the same time of day every day, then it doesn't matter what it is. It just means that I got it right that time. It doesn't mean that inevitably every time I follow that rule set, that plan, it's always going to be successful. What it means is it's not ambiguous, and the other part is when it works, great. When it doesn't, guess what? Great. I like the quote, well, I quoted in one of the firms that I'm actually doing a combine on right now. One of the fields, like after you put your name and all your other information in, I think it's something along the lines of, it doesn't necessarily say like what is your psychology or like what's your psychology or psych trait, but basically it's almost like what would define you. And I take a quote from, I believe it was Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, with Shia LaBeouf and Josh Brolin, and when Shy's character is at, I think it's called Zabel. I always remember the end. I always want to say it's Lawrence Zabel, but his first name wasn't Zabel. But no, his first name is Lou or Lewis. And Shy is like going into the firm, and there's like negative news, and he walks past Lou, and he says something like, "Hey Lou, you doing okay?" Or, you know, "What's going on? How you doing today?" And Zabel says, "Good day, I'm okay. Bad day, I'm okay." So I didn't get it. Like I watched that movie for years. I didn't fully grasp that concept. But you always hear, you know, I don't always hear people say, don't be emotionally attached to one particular trade, don't be attached to one particular thing. Makes 100% sense. But until you deconstruct this Frankenstein that you become when you get into this, you can't teach the monster, you can't recreate and reassemble the monster to be functional, to be a higher thinking form of organism, unless you're willing to accept the things that you've assumed at the very beginning that are additional baggage that don't help, and they're actually, you know, supportive in negative thoughts, habits, pattern, like whatever. So I say all of that to say, like, for me, it was getting to the point where there's no emotion. I'm not attached. If I follow the plan, guess what? Good day, TP, profit hit, I'm okay. Bad day, stop loss, hit, I'm okay. Why? Because the criteria has already been established. There's nothing that's going to be in a way of me saying, well, it should have done because no. If I planned, if I prepped, done what I was supposed to based on the criteria, doesn't matter. But the biggest part of this first podcast, and like I said, I don't know who I'm speaking to, but I'm pretty sure that there's somebody out there like me. You've had to struggle with probably some personal things, in addition to using the markets as maybe a distraction. You may have encountered loss, you know, personal, family, whatever it is, that's devastated you at different junctures, and emotionally compromised you at other junctures, which has brought you to the markets. It's a balancing act. So for that individual that I'm speaking to, I'm speaking to you from the same place, from the place of extreme loss, from a place of having felt some level of despair, having blown accounts, having done some things that were more, it's somebody else's fault than mine when I'm the only one pushing the button. So you have to, like I said, bring it back to a very basic and fundamental premise. You have to forgive yourself first and foremost, because if you don't do that, guess what happens? Everything else goes out the window. If you're always going to be hesitant on what you do in the future without forgiving yourself from mistakes in the past, you'll inevitably go back and think about those things, and you'll still self-sabotage yourself moving forward. That's a fact. There's no way around that. There's no way around it. It's particularly one of the things that happens in speculation, because it's no different than when you see a candle formation that 15 times before you got stopped out on, right? You go through this revolutionary way of trying to change mindset without forgiving yourself, you have reasonable success, and you see that same candle structure later on. You know what your mind is going to do? It's going to tell you, hey, remember that? That's 50. This is number 16. Don't do that. And that might be the one that pans out. So, when you get out of your own way, like I said, forgive yourself. Set your plan out, write it out. I use two forms. I actually journal. Actually, show you here. I've got this notebook, and about to drop it, but I literally go through and I journal every day. I write in this notebook. Positions, trades, ideas, my thoughts, how I'm feeling, all of that. So I put that in a notebook. I also have a Discord that I set up for an electronic journal. I do the same thing. The only difference there is I'll copy an image of the chart. I'll paste the chart in. I've got different tabs. I did a video earlier today for a weekly recap and then an outlook, and I click into that Discord so I show a little bit of it. That's important as well, because you want to know where you started, what am I thinking, what was the bias, and be able to revisit that and go, I didn't see this before, let me revise. It's not you questioning yourself, it is you looking and constantly doing the self-assessment that's going to get you in line. Okay, that brings me back to probably the closing portion of this first podcast, so this way that you'll understand fully why I felt like that this was important. When I say you get out of your own way, when you simplify, when everything is systematic, when you know what the plan is, no emotion, there's something that happens mentally, and this is, like I said, the point at which where most people get to the point where they feel like, do I want to keep doing this because this is so painful and it's hurting because I'm not successful and I can't see all of the time that I've spent, I can't see any value in it because there's none, right? And those are the people that inevitably will say, this doesn't work, it doesn't work for me, I can't get it, I quit. That's the fork in the road. That's the fork in the road that should, for some of us, and I'd like to include myself on that side now, where we stop and say, okay, what's so different about that, 5%, 7-8% of people that can do this? I don't think I'm the 92. What's so different? And it's here, it's upstairs. It's a willingness to put yourself in the most uncomfortable place. And my personal opinion about the most uncomfortable place for people is to be introspective. It's to be self-critical of what you're doing, not what anybody else is doing. And I honestly think that that's one of the major things that's a separation. You have to stop and say, how much dumb shit have I been doing? How much have I been fucking myself over and not doing the simple things to get me over the hump? Simple, not easy, simple. Streamlined. Is it methodical? Is there a for lack of a better word to use, is there a pattern? Is there a process, a chart to follow to the T? It's a yes or no. It's not a well, it's a yes or no. Have I? No. Okay. What does that look like? have a plan? Have I been following it like it's yes or no? No? Okay. Start there. If you've taken however long, like I could say I took three and a half years. In totality, in the 5 years that I've been in this space, there were probably three, if I'm honest, I'd say maybe 3 times before now I actually felt like, oh shit, I'm making all the money in the world. I'm gonna blow this shit out the fucking water. Probably 3 or 4 times. I blew something out of the water. I blew my accounts out of the water. Because at that point, it was the emotional epiphany that something was going to happen without the concrete plan, the concrete process. It was based on emotion. It wasn't based on what's the competitive edge in speculation in this asset. It was, I can do this randomly in any asset. And you know what? It's gambling. It's flipping a coin. I could put 10 positions on in a paper trade account, and 7 of them would be profitable, and 3 of them I just let them run until either they stopped out or they turned profitable. And again, that's not saying that it's right. That's the conditioning of the bullshit that says this isn't real, right? Virtual funds in a paper trade account, you could hold those positions for years. They might be negative for years. So does that mean the moment they go into the green, you say, aha, I knew I was right all the time? No. You're lying to yourself. So again, that introspective, what am I doing to sabotage, right? So that's the first thing. That's the biggest hurdle. Then follow that model, follow that plan, document it, take pictures, journal it, write. And it's not that you're deviating, you're looking at, are there variations to it that are more suitable for a positive result? It's data collection. There's a reason why everybody says collect as much data as you can, then go back and look. That's what you're doing. But you're doing it from here before you do it in a chart. You have to condition yourself to look for very specific things. And then when you're looking for specific things in the data, you've already done the paradigm shift within you. So then the chart and everything else becomes simpler. What you're looking for becomes pretty much simple. You can still complicate it, but you'll have a defined area and a place that you can go. So in closing, again, I'm speaking to that person that feels like you've been doing this forever with nowhere to go. Keep going. I had a Neo-like moment where in the beginning, anybody that's watched The Matrix, in the beginning, Neo was, no, I heard about these people. That's not true. That's like, no. I'm going to keep programming. I'm going to keep whatever, right? Morpheus says, hey, you're the one. I'm going to take you to this lady. She's going to tell you you're the one. The Oracle doesn't tell him anything other than you are whoever you think you are. And then he gets to the point where he gets out of his own way. He gets out of his own way. When he tells Trinity on top of the building, he thinks I'm somebody I'm not. Now, you might have to go back and watch the movie again, because you know that might sound like, how does he get out of his own way when he says somebody else believes he's somebody, but he still doesn't. It's the result of the action. It's what he does. And then at the very end, where he mentally crosses the threshold where there's so many things that have happened, and he crosses the threshold where, he's in the hallway, the agents shoot at him, and he puts his hand up, and it's ironic what he says, because if you listen, that's why I say go back and watch the movie. He puts his hand up and he says, no. And the bullets stop. He's like, hold on. He gets out of his way. You got to get out of your own way. I believe in you. And don't talk to anybody about I know you're telling me not to talk to anybody, but you're talking to me. It's different. Your internal struggles are for your journal or maybe a video diary, but they're for you. They're not for anybody else. Nobody else is going to cheerlead you. Nobody else is going to want to see you reach a level of success or completion or satisfaction greater than you're going to want for yourself. You have to understand and know, don't feel, know you deserve it. And it's for you. All you have to do is just settle in, relax, assume the person, the speculator that you are known to be, and just execute on the plan, and it'll happen. Don't expect anybody to cheerlead you. Don't expect anybody to pat you on the back and say what a great job you've done. Just continue to perfect your craft and don't quit. Just don't. All right? So this is pretty much my outlet. Now you'd be like, you're contradicting yourself. But I wanted to create my own space to do what I can't really do. There's nobody that I can talk to about my thoughts on the market, which is why I created a YouTube channel, which is why I do some of my outlooks and recaps. There'll be more videos, more lives. And realistically, like I said, it's more for me than it's for anything else. I'm never going to be selling anything. I'm never having a course. I don't plan necessarily on building a community outside of people that are like-minded, want to come in, they'd like to share. Just the journey. I don't want strategies, plans, signals, conglomerates to be built to none of that. Safe space to, share just an experience and know that you're not alone, because this is 100% individual for a lot of us. But like I said, just know you're not really alone. There's always going to be an alternative and an opportunity. But like I said, I can't stress it enough. Just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't worry about others. Again, loss is one of those things that's going to happen. Failure is another thing that's going to happen. But as long as you can learn from the failure, as long as you can get back on track and you go back to just very specific plan, it'll work out. All right. So have a great Saturday. Thank you for your time. Next podcast will probably be a little bit different. Maybe we talk. Maybe I try to start doing them live. Might be something else. But maybe the first couple will be recorded. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right. So again, thanks for your time. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week in the live markets. Take care.